Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer. So this one is half Hong Konger on the home side and half English on the away side, and both of the breweries involved in this one have featured on the channel a number of times before. When it comes to the Hong Kong brewery, I would say that these guys are very solid all round. They try lots of different styles and they always tend to turn out pretty damn good actually. They're doing some really awesome stuff these days. And the Away Brewery were originally best known for their different kinds of IPAs. They're one of the really pioneering English craft breweries actually, but in recent times they've been doing a lot of different things which have been quite interesting. So I need to go back and try a few more of their beers because I think it was 2021 or so that was the last time I reviewed one of this brewery's own beers actually. But the one we're going to have a look at today was one of two collaborations produced in April of 2024 between these two breweries. It's a style that I know both breweries can do very well, a style that's very popular at the moment, and I have actually tried both of these beers before. I tried them at the release party and I know that they're both really nice, so I'm quite looking forward to doing some proper sit-down reviews of these ones for you here on the channel. But yeah, hopefully this beer's as good as I remember, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, for the home side of things, we are going to head to Kwai Chung in the New Territories, which is just a little bit to the northwest of me here in Kowloon. And that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Yardley Brothers Brewery. So this particular beer is called Brett's Day Off. It comes in at 7% ABV, and this one is another New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. But it's also brewed in collaboration with Cloudwater Brewing Co from Piccadilly in Manchester in England, and they of course do quite a lot of collaborations here in Hong Kong because the main man behind Cloudwater, his wife is a Hong Konger apparently, so they come over here quite a little bit. But yeah, this should be quite nice. The other one that they released was Who the Fuck is Brett? And you'll see that one reviewed in a few videos time, because when I tried it, it felt like it just needed a wee bit more time to kind of mature. So we'll leave that one in the bottle for a little bit longer. But yeah, 7% New England Hazy IPA, this one, Brett's Day Off. This beer was apparently brewed as an experiment with a specific strain of Saccharomyces, which gives you lots of thiol esters and thiols and esters and stuff, lots of fruity character basically. So yeah, I know this one is very nice, so certainly looking forward to tasting this again for you and describing the flavour properly. But yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see what it has in store for us. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done, both from Yardley Brothers and from Cloudwater, and we will no doubt add more to those lists at some point in the near future. I do need to look at more of Cloudwater's beers actually, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in both the Hong Kong and the English playlists. Both of those are being added to whenever I get the chance, of course. But do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about both breweries then. We'll start off with Yardley Brothers, since they are the home brewery in this case. But yeah, the Yardley Brothers Brewery, or Yardley Brothers Craft Brewery as they're known these days, was founded by Duncan and Luke Yardley, and the brothers are half Scottish, half English, and Luke was the first one who came to Hong Kong. He previously worked as a parts wholesaler, and he ended up staying in Hong Kong after meeting a girl. That relationship fell apart though, and he met another girl later and married her. But he and Duncan had homebrewed back at home in the UK, and then he took it up again when Duncan joined him in Hong Kong back in 2014. And the main reason behind this was that they couldn't get the types of beer that they wanted to drink themselves. But their first brewery was in a small shack on Lamma Island, but then in December of 2016 they opened up a production brewery on the 5th floor of an industrial building simply because the rent was quite a bit cheaper. The real estate rates here in Hong Kong is just horrendous. But apparently when they moved in, the tanks wouldn't fit in the elevator, so 8 people had to take them up the stairs, just like literally push them up. But they stayed in this brewery for a number of years. This was in the Kwai Chung area, to the northwest of Kowloon in the New Territories, and this was located in the Untappd industrial estate. I think they've stayed here for something like 7 years actually. But they've also got the Beer Shack bar out on Lamma Island. That's named after the original shack in which they used to brew their beer. They've got a tap room in Central these days as well, which I do recommend that you check out. And in the last couple of years, they've been developing their barrel program a lot, producing some really, really damn good sour beers actually, which I recommend that you check out. And this started back in 2018. But very recently, toward the end of 2023, they moved to a new and larger brewery, but still located in Kwai Chung, to the northwest of Kowloon. And I was there on the opening night, and it's a really quite impressive facility actually. But as of April 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 160 different types of beer according to Untappd, lots of different styles. And as I say, these guys, I think, to be honest, when I think about it, it's probably worth checking out the sour beers from these guys. That's where they're really, really excelling at the moment. And yeah, they do a lot of really damn good stuff actually. But yeah, Hong Kong Bastards are a bit of a favourite of mine. That's a lovely West Coast double IPA, but Voss Boss is great as well. So yeah, that's everything we can really say about Yardley Brothers Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on to the brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Cloudwater Brewing. We'll go back to that, I should say, not on to the brewery notes. So yeah, Cloudwater Brewing Company, as I've told you before, was founded back in early 2015 by Paul Jones and James Campbell after the latter left Marble Brewing Company, who really were the kind of first Manchester craft brewery. But they were also joined in the early days by Al Wall and Will France, both of whom had a wealth of experience in home brewing, professional brewing and in bar management. And the original brewery is in the Piccadilly Trading Estate in Manchester, and they began brewing there in March of 2015, and they officially opened their on-site tap room the following month in April. But soon after this, they opened up an arch under Piccadilly Station, which was called the Barrel Store, and this acted as a second sort of tap room, and was also the place where they were storing their barrel-aged beers, so you had quite a few like sours and things like that available on tap in there. But in early 2017, they closed their on-site tap room to allow for an expanded production space, simply because of the demand for their beers. They were getting very, very popular at this point. And then in July of 2018, they closed the Barrel Store to open a new tap room space, which is called Unit 9, and this is just adjacent to the adjacent to the main brewery. But they initially started off with a 2,400 litre brew kit, but they've increased capacity quite dramatically over the years. And James Campbell left the brewery in September of 2018 to work as a brewing consultant and also to raise funds for his own brewery. And he later founded a little nano brewery called Cervezas de Altur. So I need to seek out some of their beers actually. But for a period, Cloudwater were contract brewing some of their beers at Brewdog in Scotland to sell in Tesco supermarkets across the UK. But this arrangement only lasted from 2021 to 2022, and this actually resulted in Cloudwater getting quite a bit of flack. They were criticised quite heavily for sort of abandoning the small bottle shops and things that had supported them over the years, especially on their growth phase. But more recently, they've been adding more venues to the brewery's kind of portfolio over the years. This includes a tap room in Bermondsey on the Beer Mile in London. There's also the Sadler's Cat pub in Noma near Victoria Station in Manchester, and they also opened a new beer hall in Campus in Manchester as well. But yeah, as of April 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 580 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. They really made their name in the early days with the V series of different hazy IPAs, but other sources say they've produced well over 1,000 different beers. And those are quite reliable newspapers and things that are saying this. So yeah, I think this is everything we really need to say about Cloudwater Brewing Company for the moment. So if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on and have a wee look at the beer itself. So yeah, as you can see, the artwork on this one is pretty nice. I'm not sure who Brett is meant to be, if it's just a happy sort of English guy or something like that. But yeah, there you can see the Yardley Brothers Brewing symbol and the Cloudwater one, plain silver top on the can there. This is a 330ml can, and it tells you on the side here. Brewed side by side with Who the Fuck is Brett to explore the impact of different yeast strains. This hazy IPA was fermented with Saccharomyces yeast and New Zealand aroma hops. Sac biotransforms in the dry hopping process to produce super juicy fruit thiol aromas and flavours. Drink them side by side and scan the QR code to vote. So I guess they're going to vote for which one is their favourite. But yeah, I'm going to review the other one a little bit later than that, because when I tried it on tap, the Who the Fuck is Brett just felt like it needed a wee bit more time to kind of mellow out a wee bit. But this one was really nice, kind of straight up. But yeah, it tells you on the back here the hops in this one. It's Superdelic, which is quite a new product from New Zealand. It's sounded like it was quite similar to Cryo in honesty. But yeah, this is hopped with Nelson Sauvin and Nectaron, both of which we know quite well. Nelson Sauvin, 16% alpha acid, it's going to give you that lovely big gooseberry, white green grapey note. Nectaron is quite a new one, which gives you a lot of pineapple and kind of big orangey flavours from what I remember. About 16% alpha acid, and then it also says it's got Citra in the bittering hops with this one as well. So yeah, Citra, 14% alpha acid, American hop actually. But the malt base is Pilsner, caramel pills is wheat, and caramel aromatic malts, and then oats. I can't speak English today. But yeah, 7% New England hazy IPA, this one. As I say, I know this is a very nice beer, so let's get it out into the glass and just see what it's all about actually. So yeah, really looking forward to this. But the specific yeast in this one is Cerevisiae Saccharomyces, if I've pronounced that correctly. But yeah, there we are. So that looks good. Oh, the head's going to disappear on this one very, very quickly. So yeah, as you can see, this beer poured with about a 1/3 finger of a kind of bubbly pure white head. That's faded away to be pretty much nothing though. That tends to happen with the Yardley Brothers beers actually. They don't, in my experience, they don't retain their head all that well. Come to think of it, but the beer still tastes great, so who cares. But yeah, there's just a little bit of a kind of ring around the edge of the glass, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the edge of it there, and those are heading up towards the surface. But yeah, you can see this one has a lovely colour to it. It's almost like a mango juice colour. So remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well, but you don't often have to care about that with different kinds of IPAs of any description actually. But yeah, I think that is everything we really need to say about the aroma of this one, the appearance of this one. So yeah, the only other thing I would, talking rubbish in this video guys, honestly, but the level of haze in this beer for a 7%er, it's kind of about what you'd expect, but it's bordering on being impressive. So remember, the level of haze in these beers depends on the oat content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. But this one, yeah, it looks pretty nice, I have to say. But yeah, all in all, I think now we've said everything we need to about the appearance of this one. So my brain is actually starting to wake up with it. But yeah, it looks pretty much as you would expect from a New England hazy IPA of any description. Certainly very, very bright in its colour. Not the palest I've come across in recent times, but it looks very, very good. So yeah, let's have a wee look at the nose of this one then and see what it's going to have in store for us. Like I said, I'm very curious to try this one again. I think I'm going to need to pause the video a little second and just blow my nose, because I think I've got a wee bit of a sniffle there. Just a second. Alright guys, blew my nose and now it's clear. So let's have a wee look at that nose properly then. Oh yeah, much better, much, much better. So yeah, one of the things that I find you always get, and you notice this with Voss Boss as well actually, the Yardley Brothers hazies, they always have just this slightly sharp citricy thing in the nose. And it's always, I always quite like it actually, I like that. The Yardley Brothers hazies always just have this little bit more of a kind of impact flavour, but it's the way they mellow out really nicely that's good. I think it must just be I don't know exactly what they do, if the US04 yeast is like a favourite amongst Yardley, but yeah, the other one uses like the Voss yeast. I think it might be a mixed fermentation actually, but yeah, when you first smell this beer, it has that little bit of impact that you find with other Yardley Brothers hazies, but the beer itself smells lovely, this one. So as I've said on the channel many a time before, when it comes to New England hazy IPAs, I think there are 6 elements to think about with these. You've got the kind of more farmhousey, yeasty type character and the rye-lean and grainy side of things. Those are a bit more prominent in American brewed New England IPAs, but you've also got wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and also the kind of sweeter side of things to think about. But yeah, for me, this one comes across as being quite wheaty. It might well be the wheat that's giving you this little bit of impact with these Yardley beers, but yeah, a little bit of wheaty character coming out of this one, certainly some oaty creaminess, some nice barley malt bread as well, and then yeah, the way that just all of this pieces together, I think, is very, very nice, in fact. So yeah, this one comes across to me as being a little bit more wheaty and bitey and things, but it also has a bit of barley malt to it, and there's also a wee bit of a more yeasty type note to this one too, but lovely big green component and big bright juicy fruity characters. So yeah, let's have a wee look at the aroma of this one and just see what we're actually getting out of it. So yeah, the backbone of the beer for me is this lovely kind of fresh white bready bread crust. It's got a little bit of that in there, but I do get quite a lot of cracker out of this one, like Jacob's cream cracker, and a very, very slight woodiness, and those notes I think are most likely to be coming from the yeast in this case. But yeah, lots of kind of fluffy white bread in there. So yeah, fluffy white bread, little touch of brown bread as well, actually, a little bit of an almost wholemeal brown bready character. I can smell a little bit of the creaminess of the oats, and remember with New England IPAs, oats are very often an indicator of how fresh your New England IPA is, because the creamier they are, basically the fresher the beer is, the drier they are, the older it is. But yeah, lovely little bit of I would say sort of nice creamy oaty character. This one, a little touch of dryness to it as well. But yeah, you can smell the wheat in this one. In the back of the nose, you certainly get a little bit of the bitiness of the wheat, but you can smell the white bready wheaty character just densifying out the whole beer in this case. So yeah, the way that all just pieces together, I think is really, really very nice. So yeah, there's not too much in the way of sweetness to this one either. You've just got a little bit of a kind of biscuity note to it, maybe a very slight Werther's Original, but yeah, this is certainly not too sweet in terms of its malt base for sure. Yeah, lovely smooth wheaty mix of things going on in this one. So yeah, let's go on and have a wee look at the hoppy side of the beer then. So as I've mentioned on the channel many times before, when it comes to IPAs, you have 3 different kinds of hoppings that you can use. You have early edition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil. That gives you mainly bitterness and a deep dank aroma. Late edition hopping, which is in the last half hour of the wort boil, a little bit of bitterness in there usually, but mainly flavour and aroma, and it gives you a very bright green component in terms of the aroma as well. Then you've got dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, and that gives you pretty much all flavour and aroma, but no bitterness. So yeah, New England IPAs rely on late edition and dry hopping, which is why they've got the brighter green components. West Coast IPAs use all 3, which is why they are deeper and danker. But yeah, with this beer, you've got that lovely kind of big bright green component to this one. There's a very slight earthiness to it, but not too much. Yeah, very slight earthiness, but again, that could be coming from the yeast. A little bit of herbal character as well, but yeah, lovely big bright green floral aromaticity, and you've also got a lovely little bit of a kind of zesty, grassy character to this one. But this is using the Superdelic, which is kind of like cryo. It gives you that very smooth green component as well. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together in this beer, I think, is very, very nice. But on the fruity side of things, this beer is kind of doing as you would expect. I think we've said everything we really need to about the green component, mainly big bright floral notes and a wee bit of grassiness as well. So yeah, on the pardon me, on the fruity side of things, I'd say I'm getting quite a lot. I do get a little bit of the kind of grapefruity and peachy notes from the Citra, but mainly it's the Nelson Sauvin. I'm getting a lot of that kind of oily, white, green, grapey, gooseberry sort of thing out of this one from the Nelson Sauvin, and I love that. I really do love that. I don't know, there's... Yeah, the fruity side of things, I think it's got a lovely kind of big juicy orangey note to it, which is from the Nectaron, but I'm also getting a wee bit of the kind of pineapple-y note and a wee bit of like apricot and stuff as well, which, you know, Nectaron can give you from what I remember. So yeah, a little bit of pineapple, a little bit of apricot, juicy orange, and then yeah, you certainly have that you certainly do have that big oily white green grapey note coming out of this one. So yeah, it gets a big thumbs up from me, this beer. I really like how this one pieces together. So yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But generally speaking, this one comes across as quite smooth, a little bit more yeasty and wheaty and bready, I would say, compared to other New England's bright green component. Lovely sort of juicy, oily fruits. So yeah, enjoy that aroma, but we're going to try this one again now. So this one is Brett's Day Off, a 7% New England Hazy IPA from Yardley Brothers and Kwai Chung here in Hong Kong and Cloudwater in Piccadilly in England. This is brewed with Saccharomyces, I forget the name of the specific thing, but yeah, it's brewed as a wee experiment and I know that it's nice. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. That's a lovely, lovely beer, this one. In the can, it's even smoother than it was on the tap. It did have a little bit more of a punch to it, I remember, when you first took it in. Like, I remember it just had that wee bit of kind of sharper impact, almost, when it came off the tap. But yeah, this one, I think, is really damn good. So it'd be a shame if they didn't do this again, actually. But yeah, it's quite different to the Voss Boss. It's actually more, it's interesting, this one, because I think it varies a little bit in the flavour compared with what you might expect from the aroma. I was expecting a little bit more of a yeasty leaning New England IPA, but it's actually got quite a good bit of malty backbone to it as well. So yeah, I like that with this. So yeah, it's a thumbs up from me. Big, juicy, very smooth one, this. It gives you everything that you would want from the hazy style. But I think we should break this beer down and describe it more in depth, as we always do. So, middle third of your palate then. The backbone of the beer, you've got that lovely kind of fresh, white bready bread crust in this one. As you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get a wee bit of a kind of woody character in the base there, so yeah, that little bit of woodiness comes out. Then you've got some Jacob's cream cracker as well, which I think is great. So yeah, Jacob's cream cracker, a little bit of woodiness in there, and then above that you start to get all the bready notes. And the further you go into the aftertaste with this beer, the more it feels like it has a slightly kind of like brown bready type note. Yeah, it does feel like it has a wee bit more of a kind of brown bready type character to it further in the aftertaste, but certainly above that kind of, you've got the bread crust and the cracker, but then you've got the brown bready layer, then the more dense white bready layer sitting above that. And as I say, it's got a lovely kind of sweet, it has got that lovely kind of smooth note to it as well, which I think is great. So yeah, lovely smoothness out of this one. And you also have, above that, you start to feel the wheat in this one. So the wheat actually is a very dense, white bready character, but it really, as I say, toward the back of that middle third of your palate, you get a lot more sort of bitiness out of it too, which I think is great. So yeah, good little bit of it's quite smooth. As I say, the further you go into the aftertaste with this one, the wheat really smoothens out, and that's what I really like about the Yardley Brothers beers, is that the hazies always have a little bit more impact to them, but they smoothen out. This one's a lot, I would say this one has less impact to it than Voss does, but yeah, the wheaty bitiness that you get out of this at the back of that middle third of your palate is nice, and the density and smoothness that you get out of the more dense wheaty white bready character is interesting as well. Above that, you get a little bit of oatiness, but I would say the oats really take a back seat in this one. And the oats have a little bit of a dryness to them as well, a little bit of smoothness. I wonder if it's American or Australian oats they're using in this, because they just don't feel quite as creamy as European oats actually, and they don't feel, they feel a bit more like American oats in honesty when I think about it. So yeah, the oaty character, as you go down the middle line of your palate, you do get that wee touch of creaminess out of it in the middle of your palate, but yeah, as you move out toward the edges of your tongue, it does feel that little bit dry. There's maybe a tiny little bit of like a Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch in the middle of your palate there, and that's going to be the 7% alcohol, but this New England IPA really isn't that sweet at all. But I would say that at the back of that middle third of your palate, you do get a wee bit of crispness, and I think the Pilsner malt and the wheaty character in this one are just giving you a little bit of bite to the beer, which is quite interesting. Those things are kind of doing something together actually. I think that's definitely fair to say. But I think we've covered the middle third of the palate now with this one. Let's go to the back third of the palate. As I've often said, back third of your palate will give you very similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. But remember, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. So yeah. The border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of bready build up in there. You can feel a wee bit of the brown bread in the base, then you've got the white bready character and a wee bit of the wheaty bitiness and the Pilsner malt up at the top there. But the base of that back third of your palate, yeah, the white bready bread crust, the cracker, those are a little bit drier. You've got the wholemeal brown bready layer above that, which was a little bit lighter, taller, more airy, a little bit drier. Then you've got the fluffier white bready character in there as well, which again feels a little bit lighter, more airy and drier as well. And then above that, you can feel the wheaty malt and the kind of Pilsner bitiness just topping that off. And then you've got the yeasty character coming out of the beer. So let's have a wee look at the yeasty side of things. So yeah, for me, the yeasty side of this beer is quite interesting. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it. Like in the dead centre, it feels like it's a more dense, sweet, brown bready sort of thing. Then around the edge, you get a little bit more of a white bready character, and on the very outside of that, you have the you have that little bit of a more kind of bread crusty type note as well. So yeah, definitely the flavour of this beer, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your palate, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way all of that pieces together in this beer, I think is really, really nice actually. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, interesting stuff. So on the hoppy side of things with this one, then we can move on to that. The back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness in there. So yeah, a nice little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, a little touch of herbal character, but then you do get a little touch of an almost danky pine resin out of this one. So yeah, this beer does have a little bit more bitterness to it, and that comes out the further into the aftertaste that you go. But yeah, as you push further forward along the sides of the palate, you can feel it gets a little bit more sort of spicy and floral, and then round the front curve of the tongue, it feels that little bit lighter and grassy. And that's one thing I would say about this beer, is I think they've kind of balanced out the bittering hops with the pellets in the early edition hopping, with the aroma hops as well, and the kind of smoothness. Because in the beginning, when you first take the liquid in, you get a wee bit more of the bite, but then yeah, into the aftertaste, you get a wee bit more of the more oily side of the beer as well. So yeah, the way all of that pieces together, I think, is really quite nice. So yeah, on the fruity side of things then, with the fruity side of the beer, we'll look at the front third of your palate. The border region between front third and middle third of your palate, there's a little bit of brown bread in the base and the white bread on top. The base of that front third of your palate, it's more of a, it's a little bit of a kind of, you get the bread crust, the Jacob's cream cracker, the brown bread, the white bread, and then above all of that, you get the, as I say, you get the wheaty, you get a bit of the wheaty note in this one. The wheat feels a little bit denser and a little bit smoother, but then of course you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, for me, the juicy fruity esters that come out of this one are quite interesting because it's, see, I still get quite a little bit of the kind of stronger citra notes out of this one. At the back of that front third of your palate, there's definitely a wee bit of a grapefruity note. So yeah, stronger grapefruity character in there. Then you get a wee bit of the peach as well, which is very common with citra. And yeah, as you move further forward from that, there's juicy mango, a little bit of apricot as well. And I'm getting the pineapple. The pineapple is going to be from the Nectaron, but the Nelson Sauvignon, as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, you can feel that more oily, gooseberry, white grapey note from the Nelson Sauvignon. And then above that, you have a little bit more of, you have a little bit more of a kind of oily, orangey, zesty type character coming out of it. There's a wee bit of a lemon limey note as well, which I think is from citra. Citra will give you that if you use it in the early part of the boil. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think the Nelson Sauvignon and the Nectaron, the white green grapes and the oily orange come out a little bit more into the aftertaste. But yeah, the beer does have a bit of floral and kind of zesty bite to it for sure. So yeah, the way that everything sort of pieces together in this one, I think is very, very nice. So gives a thumbs up from me. On the mouthfeel then, just to round off this review, for me, mouthfeel wise, I'd say that this beer is right in the middle of the spectrum, mid-bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth. Has a little bit of a wet mouthfeel to it as well, right enough. But all in all, this is it's quite a smooth and quite a light New England IPA, this one. It's certainly not the creamiest that you're going to come across. More of a kind of smooth one, this. IBU wise, I want to say this one's got about 40-ish IBUs. It feels like it's slightly more bitter, maybe 50 IBUs. You do get a bit more of a lingering bitterness out of this one into the aftertaste for sure. The malt base has a wee bit of dryness underneath, the smoothness in the middle, little touch of creaminess and sweetness on top, but very, very minimal. This is more of a dry New England IPA, this one, and smooth rather than anything else. And then the fruity side of the beer, you've got a little bit of a sharp, citricy kind of note to this one. And yeah, you've got that juicy kind of fruity note coming out of it as well. But yeah, quite citrusy leaning, but you do get more of the kind of orangey and oily white green grapey notes out of it too. But all in all, really interesting beer, this one, and I do like this. It's even smoother out of the can than it is on tap actually, which is interesting. But I do hope that Yardley's will produce this one again. But yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about this. So yeah, this was the Brett's Day Off, a 7% New England Hazy IPA from Yardley Brothers in Kwai Chung here in Hong Kong, in collaboration with Cloudwater from Piccadilly in Manchester in England. Till the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Check out my social media, check out theirs, and I'll see you guys in another review very, very shortly. Until then, slàinte, skål, cheers, and see you guys in the next one. Ciao just now.